what makes you think that Airbnb can succeed where so many tech companies, U.S. tech companies in China, have failed?
Good question. I think in China, you're now seeing with the success of iPhones that they're growing block of Chinese consumers who actually want to have more westernized lifestyle and taste.
But what about the government? I mean, is the government going to allow this?
I think the government is pretty savvy at dealing with U.S. internet companies who could do well in China. I think the Chinese government is extending its influence using the consumption power of China as a market to improve relations with companies and entities outside of China.
But with Facebook being blocked, Twitter being blocked, so many companies saying we're not even going to try China at all, what makes Airbnb different?
I think media and commerce are two separate categories. As you know, media is a lot more regulated and there's a lot more oversight in that part of the internet value chain, whereas commerce, cross-border commerce, are being promoted by Chinese government.
I recently sat down with the CTO and co-founder of Airbnb to talk about their China strategy at the Bloomberg Technology Conference.
Right.
Take a listen to what Nathan had to say about Airbnb's expansion in China.
China as a country, as a source of travelers, is growing faster than any other country in the entire world, over 5x year over year. Incredible growth. And, you know, it's really an amazing thing. There's a growing middle class. Increasingly, the first thing they want to do is experience the world. Many of them have not left the country ever before. China now represents, is number one in terms of international tourism expenditure. It was $100 billion back in 2013. They estimated it would double again over 5 years. To put that in comparison, the next two highest are the U.S. and Germany, which are tied at $80 billion. So the future of international travel is really the Chinese tourist.
Now, what's interesting here is that they're looking for a CEO of Airbnb in China, and they're working with these two venture capital firms, China Broadband and you. China Broadband Capital, Sequoia China. We know GGV, but we don't know these other guys. Who are they, and who else have they helped get into China?
Well, China Broadband, Edward Tian has been a very pioneering entrepreneur. He started Asia Info. He was part of China Netcom. Netcom is now part of China Unicom, the number 2 telecom operator in China. So he is experienced with the telecom side of things. And Sequoia China is started by Neil Shen, who founded Ctrip, one of the co-founders of Ctrip, and is part of the exactly. And it's linked with Sequoia here in the U.S.
So do they have government connections that these companies need, that Airbnbs need?
I think in the process of doing and making investments in the internet space in China, you inevitably interact with Chinese government officials. So we love to help Chinese, U.S. internet companies to meet with the right folks in China to help to facilitate more communication, avoid misunderstanding, and figure out middle ground to work together.
Now, one of the interesting, I lived in China. Every time you check into a hotel, you have to give them your passport. They have to scan your passport. Right. They hold on to that information. How does Airbnb handle that side of things?
Well, for the Chinese government, they prefer that people have records of staying, right, especially for foreigners. So that obviously applies to anyone who operate a business in China. So it is up to the host to deal with such matter.
So they're doing that. The hosts are doing that? Up to the host to do that.
It's up to the host. Okay. And the government is right now encouraging to be open about more ways to collaborate on the e-commerce side. And we'll see what happens as the scale grows.
Now, it's interesting that they're looking for a CEO of Airbnb China. Could Uber, for example, benefit from something like that? Uber's also expanding into China, but they've run into many issues as well. Their offices were just raided.
I think transportation is a lot more regulated as a sector. So Uber has its challenges with any Chinese startup in that space to deal with that.
But what other companies could benefit from having a CEO in China? What other kinds of companies looking to expand? I mean, is that the way to get into China?
I think the way to do it in China is find the right local partner. We'll be happy to help. Yeah. And then have more communication and dialogue with the Chinese government, because it's important to figure out what is the right middle ground that both sides can accept to make the production productive. Then you also need to have a China CEO who has some kind of localized decision-making power to make adjustments. As with any companies in China, in the internet space, you have to make adjustments for the Chinese local situation.
So what's been your advice to Airbnb throughout this process? There is a Chinese version of Airbnb called Tujia, doing something quite similar, though it's even more built out. They have services, like cleaning services, that you can use around.
We're an investor in Tujia. My partner Ji Xun's on the board. We think the two businesses are not directly competing with each other, they have different focus.
Why not?
Who knows? It could be a way to work together. I don't think Tuja has any desire, at least to my knowledge, to expand beyond China today. And in China, they focus more on vacation homes. So there could be ways to work together. All along, I always thought the Alibaba Yahoo model is something that most U.S. companies should think about. I wish Uber was an investor in Didi earlier. Then you wouldn't have the contention situation we have today.
Right, you're an investor in Didi Kuaidi, which is Uber's competitor.
We linked the Uber to meet Didi a long time ago, back in 2012.
Oh.
So
you think Uber should have done like a JV?
Everybody has to decide what they want to do, but we're very supportive of the Ali Yahoo strategy. I think Jerry did a great job of working that out with Jack Ma, and in the longer run, it's a more harmonious relationship.
So where's Airbnb going to expand next? I mean, they talked about Iran.
Well, I think Airbnb is amazing, right? This past summer, they only have over, 1 million stays in one night, and that's a record. One reason we're investing in Airbnb is that it's amazing service and amazing community, and we don't see anybody else doing something similar around the world. And we'd like to see more Chinese travelers travel on Airbnb.